So first, I think you have to be a little blown away by that last presentation. We're not going to be talking about billions and trillions of anything, but doing what they do on a production basis for so many users is pretty awe-inspiring. And I think, I'm humbled by what they've done there before I get started. But I'm Jeff Meyer. And most presenters right before lunch would say, I'm going to do my best to get you out by lunch, but not me. Don't let me anywhere near a microphone. I'll never let it go. Discussion today, I'm going to put it in slideshow mode, I think. Oh. There we go. Kind of charting big things. And if you saw Min's presentation yesterday, you know that you don't have to just map big things. You can also map small things. And one small thing, just a quick check to last night's boat cruise. How many were on the cruise? The question came up, where was the Boston Tea Party? I've added it as an event in OpenHistoricalMap, and that orange dot is approximately 1/2 inch on that map from where we left last night. So it's now built up and everything else. But just to follow up on some, is Maggie in the room? I'm just saying, she may not have been exactly right with her tour guiding. But I'm also, this is audience participation, right? So I need everyone listening and participating. Empires, pretty big. What's the big deal? And I'm giving away a prize if anyone can tell me who the guy on the left is and what empire he was associated with. Anyone know? Sargon. You, sir, are the proud winner of How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immerwahr. You can get your thing right here at the end of the show. Nice work. First empire. Is that the first empire? No, that's a later one. They're not associated. My point is people like empires because they're big and sprawling and amazing. But empires, what do they mean? Why are they just not countries? Well, they grow over time. They colonize. They generally do stuff like conquer territories that may or may not be near them. And there's a few other criteria, and there's arguments over who's an empire and who's not. But the bottom line is, it's a big, hairy kind of polity, we'll call it. And if you ever mapped, has anyone here mapped boundaries in OpenStreetMap? Mr. Spurlongo, are they fun to work with? They can be. They can also be tricky. They're easy to break, and you can tag them the wrong way, and maybe they get rendered what. But empires are kind of weird. Like, what's the admin level of a country? Anybody? 2. You could use your voices, use your outside voices. If countries are admin 2, what would an empire be? Should they be anything different? I don't know. I love this diagram here because it is a visual metaphor with a label that tells you it is a visual metaphor. Like as if you needed that, and you can insert your own text here. But the point is, empires are not like countries. There's over 100 empires, if you look at them, all through Wikipedia. And the Wikipedia entry for the list of empires says, hey, we know this list is incomplete. Please add some more. And I quickly found some. But all that did was add to our list of things that we need to add to OpenHistoricalMap, right? Like, do we have all the countries to begin with? Okay, how about all the empires? Do we have details about, This talk today is not a how-to. It is not really a back end like the awesome and if it were back end, man, I would be embarrassed to go up here right now after those guys. It's more like, what are people using OpenHistoricalMap for? And what are some of the challenges that we face to let people know, so kind of like, what's the day in the life of an OpenHistoricalMap mapper like for people who want to chart large-scale movements in history. And so it's one of the things that we really emphasize are sources. But what are our sources? Old maps. And what are the old maps of? Sometimes we find old maps from, say, 1900 of the Roman Empire. Okay, great. Guy drew a line. What do those lines mean? Where did they get them? What's their evidence for that? We don't know. And that doesn't help the next mapper who comes along and OpenHistoricalMap find out why that boundary extended when it did. I'm going to go back to the same table. Min, can you raise your hand? He is an OpenHistoricalMap advisor, and he and I battle continuously on the use of a place tag. Place tag, we'll figure that out. But if you're in an empire, but you're still a country, so you could have an admin level 2 thing inside as a member of another admin level 2 thing, like, kind of mind-blowing for OSM. Try to write queries around that. Try to do fun things that give you the right answer when you're sitting there on overpass. But these are the types of things through history that we really don't deal with a lot in modern day. But in reality, in past history, it's a big problem. And then how do we label that and tag it and everything else? And one of the big things that's interesting is you can show movement of why an empire expanded or contracted, but it's important to tie that to reasons. And I'll show an example here. This is the Mongolian Empire, and the outlines that you see here are some outlines that were taken from a book, right? And they show you at snapshots in time. And the question is, well, what happened? First of all, did it really extend that wide? Was the Mongol Empire's reach really that far and broad? Or those little circles represent events, so I'm modeling events like the Boston Tea Party, except it wasn't as much fun for the citizens of these ancient cities. You can watch the march of the Mongol Empire as they conquered territories. Well, the boundaries should follow those events, right, in real time. You should be able to say, oh, that additional conquest of territory extended their things, and it's tied to a particular event. So we're hopefully cranking up the precision and resolution of historical mapping and representation of what was going on at that time. So now I'm going to bring it a little bit back to the US, but this is about the British Empire. But Charlie Plett is an American mapper, OpenStreetMap US kind of guy, and here's an example of what an empire might be like in OpenHistoricalMap. He has decided they're admin level 1, fair game, no objections. It's also labeled as a country, even though that's level 2, right? And the type of country is listed as an empire. And I want to point out, it has over 1,000 members. That's, we're just caveman historical mappers here, right? That's a lot of relations for a lot of items in a relation for a fledgling project like OHM. But how many different, another plug. Because we're built on the OSM stack and you can extract data and do all the cool things you do with OpenStreetMap with OpenHistoricalMap, a user on Blue Sky extracted some of our data and showed, for example, when the first time was that the sun never sat on the British Empire. 1686. I don't have how long it lasted, but that's cool. I mean, to me, that's cool. And I've always wanted to know the answer to that question. Was it true? And the answer is, it is true. So how many different iterations through time does anyone want to guess there were for the British Empire on OHM right now? Is it lower than 50? Raise your hand, sign of hands. This is participatory. You think I'm tricking you. Is it under 1,000? Aha. Is it over 500? Okay, well, we're not that good. But there are 320 some odd members of that 1,000-member relation. So there's 320 versions of a 1,000-member relation. That's some heavy-duty lifting. Now do that for the Spanish Empire, the Portuguese, various empires in India and China. That's the scale of kind of what we're trying to cover here. And we're quickly becoming a pretty amazing repository of empire boundaries and country boundaries throughout history. Checking my time here. And the way we tie those all together is with something called a chronology relation. And that just shows you different slices. And it could be true of a church that had building expansion. It could be true of a highway, of a road as it changes from a gravel cover Seriously? This is the thing about empires. I show you an empire meme, and I tie it into chronology relations. I get nothing? You guys are ingrates. Thank you. Thank you. I love that one. But we also have things like, going back to the admin level problem. If you look at the Holy Roman Empire, here's a slice of one point in time. The Holy Roman Empire, at any given point, might have 800 kingdoms inside it, right? And so mapping that is like the Fabergé egg of historical mapping. But let's bring it back to the United States. So this book that I'm giving out, one more copy, one more question coming, How to Hide an Empire, is also about the United States. And it talks about really the problems inherent with empires, using the United States as an example. Before today, how many of you considered the United States an empire? Yeah. Well, check the book out, and maybe we can make a case. But there's problems. Additions go unnoticed. They're forgotten. Sometimes they're obviated. When you make synthetic rubber, all of a sudden you don't need to have colonial possessions in rubber plantation areas. Other types of trade. And, for example, part of the American empire is a territory, Puerto Rico, which is labeled as a state in OpenStreetMap. And yet they don't have the rights of a state. Does that seem fair? I don't know. But I can tell you, they were treated pretty poorly throughout history because of the fact they weren't a state. They don't even have a constitutional right for citizenship. Their rights to citizenship in the United States are by statute. That's just one example. So he starts by talking about the logo map. This is what people think in their mind. United States, that's what it looks like. And this is after 1853 we hit that. That's the Gadsden Purchase. We finished out little Arizona area. And then we jumped to 1867 with Seward's Folly and the acquisition of Alaska. Now, do you think that time sequence is correct in the expansion, showing all the expansion of the American empire? No? No, of course not. The question is, what is missing? Anyone want to venture a guess? Hawaii? No, Hawaii's later. It's still a kingdom at this point. Philippines, no, that's later. Spanish-American War, 1898. What? Anywhere else? Any more guesses? Greenland? No. Good guess. I like it. And nope, not Virgin Islands. Jarvis Islands. Jarvis Island. Actually, there were a whole bunch of islands that we acquired and claimed in between the Gadsden Purchase and Alaska. And this book, same book, different cover, different cartography on the cover, different representation of the empire, goes to whoever can yell out quickly what is on those islands. Who said bird poop? You, sir. You get the other version. That's exactly right. And I'm sad to say, by the way, this is a cartographic treatment of Jarvis on OpenStreetMap. Unfortunately, we don't have it in OpenHistoricalMap, but we'll get there. And, these are the types of stories you can tell with the OpenHistoricalMap. Hopefully not just showing, serving as a illustration of what happened. Maybe it doesn't tell why or the motivation for it, but hopefully what we create, people can use as a complement to their storytelling about why empires rise, why they fall, and why maybe people don't notice them. And we'll be getting this into our United States chronology relation. It's not there quite yet. But everything's big, that's great. Small stuff is important too. Don't hesitate to get involved with OpenHistoricalMap. Min or I will be able to answer some questions, demand a demo. Since this really wasn't a demo, I'll be out there. And we got a forum, a wiki, all that good stuff. And I have a very exciting new email address. And, I invite you all to check it out and play with it. We're very fun, anything goes kind of Wild West environment. Any questions? If not, come find me. Or if you do, come find me. And I thank you very much for your time.